right, let's look at these quiz reviews. Let's start with this one. I could be so bad. On and on. What makes up the central nervous system? With two parts. There's two parts in there. What are they? Come on. No. Yeah, brain and spinal cord, right? And the peripheral nervous system, all the nerves that extend off of the spinal cord. And if you look at this picture, this is all the nerves of the body, right? That's it. So the neurons, this is a cell. Good morning, Ruby. That transmits signals, right? Signals. And the parts are, well, these are, I know it's kind of small to see, but those are dendrites. We got cell body with the nucleus. Here's the nucleus in there. This is the axon. Surrounding the axon, we have these Schwann cells. And we could make a note over here. We could say it's the Schwann cells that produce myelin. And over here, we got those axon terminals, right? And I think that's pretty good. 3 types of neurons. We got neurons going in this way. We got neurons coming out. Remember, this would be inside the spinal cord right here. That's where we find interneurons. So sensory neurons bring info in. Motor neurons bring, when I say info, it's like signals, right? Nerve signals. Out to the muscles. And the interneurons connect the two. And they come into play during a reflex. Here we see what this is a neuron here, and this is a effector. Remember, effectors could be muscles or glands. And the space between effector and a neuron is called a synapse. The axon terminal, which is this part, releases a chemical. And that chemical is called neurotransmitter. And that signal has to cross that space to activate that effector. And that was really it for part 1. I'm recording this so they could,
and it's going to be posted.
And this will be posted. So yeah, let's continue, and then I'll share it with everybody. And then let's look at part 2. which is brain stuff. All right, we should know about the brain, right? Some of you have one of these. We have the skull on the outside, the brain on the inside. This is the brain, right? I like this picture. It shows the contrast between white matter here and gray matter, right? But then we have some protective layers. Going from the outside in, we have dura mater. And then we have arachnoid mater. And then on the inside, we snug right up against the brain, we have the very delicate pia. Mater. That's how it's really pronounced. Mater. All right? Remember PAD, right? That's the pad between the brain and the skull. We can label this real quick. Back here, we got this is the occipital lobe. That's your visual cortex. And then we have parietal lobe on top. And then we have frontal lobe. Remember the story about Phineas Gage? Anybody do that part of the web quest? Huh? He damaged his frontal lobe. What happened? Did he die? No, he just turned into a big jerk. This whole structure right here connects the left and right hemisphere of the brain, right? That's called the corpus callosum. All right, and then in here we have the thalamus. That's the relay center for all incoming sensory information. Underneath that, makes sense, we would have the hypo. That means under. The hypothalamus, and that's the control center for homeostasis. We have the pituitary out in front of that. Over here, this is the big belly of the seahorse. We have what's called the pons. 9 is the medulla, or we could say the rest, the medulla. Let's just say medulla. Oblongata. And 10, Sarah? That's the one. And what is that? And what is that? What does that control? What does the cerebellum control?
Emotions and balance.
Balance. Unique characteristics, I don't know. There's a slide about this. We have raised areas. They're called gyri. We have sunken areas. They're called sulci. Sometimes they're called fissures. If they're really deep, they're called fissures. About 3 to 4 pounds. Average human brain. What's one more characteristic? What else can we say? I can't even think of one. We have cerebrospinal fluids surrounding the brain. And we say CSF. That's the fast way to say cerebrospinal fluids. Good morning. All right, moving on. Oh my goodness, the diencephalon. The thalamus is the relay center. For incoming sensory info, signals. And the hypothalamus is the control center for homeostasis. Remember, homeostasis is our ability to control everything inside the body, right? Keep everything normal and constant, right? The cerebellum, that's way back here. This little thing over here, this controls balance, equilibrium, helps us to maintain coordinated muscle movements. This way we don't look like robots when we're walking down the hall. Don't worry about keep it up, and I'm gonna give this to you when I'm done with it. All right. The pons is the respiratory control center. Sometimes when we're running, we have to increase our breathing rate. That's the pons doing that. And then the medulla controls most autonomic functions. All the things that we don't have to think about that are happening inside the body. Your digestion, your blood pressure, things like that. All right, so that's pretty much about it for the brain right there. 2 pages. Let's see what we need to know about this spinal cord. All right, well, it begins at the foramen magnum. That's all, the big hole at the bottom of your skull. And then extends all the way down to about L4, L3, L4. And then from L4, there's still nerves that go down through there, but that's technically not the spinal cord. There's 31 pairs of nerves, spinal nerves we call those. And when we compare gray matter versus white matter, we can see there's a clear difference. This is gray matter, this is white matter. We're looking at a slice. Gray matter appears gray because it contains cell bodies, and cell bodies have dark nuclei in them. White matter appears lighter because it contains myelinated axons. And myelin is a fatty substance. It just appears lighter. This is a slice. This is where the cell bodies kind of hang out. They collect in there, and that area becomes swollen. That's called the dorsal root ganglion. And B is the dorsal root. C is gray matter. D is that central canal that has fluid in it. E, remember, this is the front, right? This is where your belly would be up here. So this is the ventral. Ventral also means front. So that's the ventral root. There's motor neurons in the ventral root. There's sensory neurons in the dorsal root. So information comes in this way, but information comes out this way. F, don't worry about F. They're just talking about, these are called horns. This is a horn. This is a posterior horn. This is an anterior horn. We're not going to get into that. We just want gray matter. And then that's about it. We don't need to even know that other stuff. I would just know that this is white matter also. And then we have that reflex arc, right? We stick ourselves with like a pin or something, or we burn ourselves with the flame. Well, we got receptors in the skin that are going to pick that up, and they're going to put a signal right on this guy, number one. That's a sensory neuron. Remember, sensory neurons go to the spinal cord, and when they do go to the spinal cord, they go in through the backside, through the dorsal root, and you can see the cell bodies are kind of accumulating there. That's why that dorsal root is more thick. That's the dorsal root ganglion. That swollen area. And then we go into the spinal cord and we go on this little guy right here. This is a very unique neuron. That's called an interneuron. That's not going to send the spinal cord doesn't want to send this up to the brain yet. It wants to handle the response first to minimize damage because this is a reflex. And so the interneuron then passes immediately the signal back to a motor neuron. Oh, wait, where's 4? Oh, no. This goes here, motor neuron. 4 is just pointing out that central canal again. And then we go to the effector. And the effector is going to generate a response because the effector in this case is a muscle. That's going to move your hand away. All right? All right, and that's pretty much in a nutshell everything that you need to know for the quiz.